Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Time is now 4:33 p.m. on Wednesday, July 14th. I am calling this meeting, this special meeting of the Academic Senate to order. Going quickly through the different items at the beginning of the regular meeting. I already mentioned our Senate, our community values. This is quite possibly the most important topic I have ever seen at Senate since my time at SBCC, which fine, hasn't been that long, but still. So I know some of you maybe don't like to or don't want to contribute to the discussion, but I can't imagine a more important time for you to share your thoughts, comments, and current concerns. So going back to that WAIT acronym, why aren't I talking? Yes, why aren't you talking? So please keep that in mind for today's discussion. Zoom meeting guidelines, please remain on mute. Senators or guests, Cornelia's with us today. She can answer negotiating questions for us. Please raise your virtual hand. When I call on you, you can talk, you can unmute yourself. Everybody else can only contribute during public comment time. So approval of the agenda. There's only one item on our agenda today, item 9.1, a discussion item from our previous special meeting of the Academic Senate. So I will assume, unless anybody speaks up, that our agenda is accepted as posted and distributed. Okay. All right, which brings us to public comments. So really, usually I say there will be a chance for public comment before the item is discussed, but we literally only have one item. So this is the shot for everyone for public comment. If you are here from the public or Santa Barbara City College and you'd like to share something with the Senate at this time, you have a 3-minute time limit. So if you'd like to make a public comment now, please raise your hand, your virtual hand, and I will call on you to give public comment. Okay, I just wanted to give everybody a minute for that, and I'm not seeing any indications for public comment. Okay, so item 9.1. We were a very different campus a few short weeks ago on June 9th when we approved this resolution. It included a demand of a vaccine mandate to be in effect by Monday, July 12th. To hold a special meeting on today to consider a vote of no confidence for trustees who voted against it previously and our superintendent president, Dr. Paul Goswami. And in the absence of it, we had a few endorsements and demands. At this time, as you know, Dr. Goswami has submitted his resignation effective immediately. We have an acting superintendent president, which is our interim EVP, Dr. Kathy Scott. We have Dr. Helen Benjamin coming back to us in 2 weeks as our acting president. And we were apprised of negotiation that are happening for the faculty, thanks to our FA. Earlier today in an all faculty meeting, and we do not have a vaccine mandate. However, we do have some potential incentives for students to become vaccinated, vaccination clinics on campus, and other, let's say, concessions by the district for what faculty wanted to see. So I'll share that a vote of no confidence is an extremely political, no, let me say that differently. A vote of no confidence is a political move. I don't think a lot of people know what they are because they are pretty rare. In short, it is, and I said this at the last meeting, it is a nuclear option, meaning that a vote of no confidence basically severs relationships. So, yeah, I don't have much more to say. I have more thoughts. I'll let them come up as the discussion progresses. It's my recommendation that we not go with a vote of no confidence today, and see where things shake out. So we'll start the discussion there. Ruth?
I am in that camp as well. I think there's still more discussions to be had with the powers that be. I also, I would like to request if Cornelia could give us a brief summary of the negotiations for the many people who are here now who weren't able to attend earlier, but if you could keep it brief and just summarize where you think we are with that, and also maybe describe briefly the timeline, because it is my understanding that as soon as we came out with voicing that we could go forward with this vote of no confidence, that they immediately responded, and I think there's some value in that. So can she briefly tell senators?
Cornelia, did you hear Ruth? She was hoping for a brief explanation of what's on the table, if you're able to.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So the Faculty Association negotiation team met with the district negotiation team yesterday. And we have the following proposal on the table. Again, Rayanne said that before, we were unable to negotiate a vaccination mandate, pretty much because the district feels that they do not want to negotiate about what they feel is now a board policy, because the board has issued a motion that they want to encourage vaccination with some other items attached to that. However, we have been able to negotiate a significant number of items to keep faculty safe in their return to campus. For one, we have been able to negotiate about class size limits. The district is willing to agree to a 65% class cap meaning the pedagogical cap according to the course outline of record. And all classes will be scheduled in rooms that are at least equal or bigger than, in terms of seats and capacity, than the class cap, the original class cap for whatever class is being taught. So that also with respect to room capacity, we are no more than 65% of limit of the size of the class. There will be some extra pay for faculty who come to campus and teach face-to-face or provide face-to-face services. The district's willing to pay $35 for each day that a faculty member comes to campus and either teaches or provides at least 2 hours of educational support services. An important topic is that we will be able to get into this MOU that no faculty will be forced to teach or provide services on campus if they do not want to do so. That also applies to committee meetings. That was an issue sometime in the past, so we wanted to pull that out. Also, as you remember, we had a number of faculty who requested via email to their deans, and a number of them have copied all faculty colleagues on that request, that they would like to have their classes or workload moved from originally face-to-face for the fall to online. What is going to happen is that they will be contacted by their area deans. The deans will share with them the new items that are in the MOU. That means the class size limits as well as the extra pay, and then the faculty member will have the option to either confirm their request to be transferred to online, or they could also rescind their request. If the faculty member does not respond, the default is that their request to be moved to online will stand. We also talked quite a bit about testing. Testing is very important to the Faculty Association, especially since we have no vaccine mandate in place. So the district had already over the last couple of weeks increased the number of tests they were willing to perform from. They started from only 50 to 75 per week. Then the next step was they were offering 300 a week at the last CPC meeting. The district is aware that this is still not enough. They will try to work on more. They are doing research on how to get more affordable tests, how they are going to administer the tests, and they will work together with the Faculty Association on providing as many tests as they can and as it is feasible. But at the moment, we don't have a fixed number. So we put into the MOU that we are going, this is something we will work on together. Faculty duties. One of the items that the district was very interested in is that the faculty who teach face-to-face or provide face-to-face services to check the healthy roster, the green screen, when students are coming to their classes, to their services. There were a few more items that we had already previously completed in negotiation. Like maybe the most important is if a faculty member is quarantined or is sick due to COVID infection or exposure, or has to stay home because their own healthy roster is asking them to stay home, that there will be not deducted any sick leave, the sick days from their sick leave bank. And I think that's the main points. And if you have any questions, be happy to answer those.
Thank you. So I really appreciate everything Cornelia just shared with us, because I think it will allow this discussion to be better informed. I know we're all eager about negotiations because they affect us. I just want to share that I think we need to keep our discussion about the vote of no confidence and not what we like and not like about negotiations, right? Because that's the discussion item. Robin.
Yeah, I have one quick clarifying question for Cornelia, not about the specifics of faculty negotiation, and I have a question for Ruth to follow up on a comment she made also. But Cornelia, I know that the FA doesn't negotiate for CSEA or isn't privy to those items, but we've been acting in solidarity with classified staff. Will they also be able to negotiate for extra compensation for working on campus in a face-to-face capacity? Or do we know?
Yes, yes, we do know that the district has shared with the faculty association that they are planning to negotiate a similar extra pay for the classified staff.
Okay, thanks. And Ruth, I just wanted, you may have been referring to the response in the negotiations, but you mentioned that when we brought up a vote of no confidence, that the board responded immediately. Were you referring to the negotiations or something else?
Yeah, the administration, I think the FA met with them soon after we held our meeting. Is that correct, Cornelia?
Well, wait a minute. So it was Cornelia, myself, Robbie on behalf of the Senate because Anna Garcia wasn't available, and it was Jamie Campbell. We
Okay, so,
met with Dr. Goswami.
okay. So it was Dr. Goswami who signaled wanting to have a discussion.
It was definitely Dr. Goswami that wanted, in fact, he was very eager to figure something out before July, the weekend of July 4th, and negotiations were rescheduled, and so it got kicked out a little bit.
Yeah, and so that's what I meant by administration. If I said board, I did not mean to say board.
Got it, thanks.
Right, the board has not. I don't know, has not what, just has not.
Responded in any way to the idea that we might take a vote of no confidence.
Well,
Yeah.
they responded to the media.
Okay, thanks.
They gave their comments to the media. Robbie?
I can say one thing the board has not done, which is they've not given any good reason to not mandate a vaccine. You can go through the 4 board members who voted it down, and their reasons are not valid. Veronica's reason was like the my body, my choice thing, which is laughable. Robert Miller essentially cast a vote of no confidence in the decades of expertise of people who were asking him, to please change his mind because what he proposed will not work in the classroom. So that's 2. Kate Parker, she tried to pass it off as illegal to revisit something again, and she said it was unusual to revisit a policy so soon after it's been enacted, which is true, but these are unusual times. And Peter Haslam gave no sensible explanation that anybody can follow. I have had some email exchanges with Peter Haslam, and he continues to word salad and not provide any reason for not having a vaccine mandate. So I feel like what I want is the thing that's going to increase our chances the most of getting a vaccine mandate. And it looks like that is just not going to happen. I'm concerned that we'll lose credibility if we threaten a vote of no confidence and then don't have one. I know we threatened to discuss it, and we're doing that, but I'm concerned that we'll lose credibility if we don't do it. There is strong support from my division for it. And I wonder if there was any talk of the spring, because the fact that even if we concede defeat and we say we're not getting a mandate now, this whole issue is going to start up all over again when we start talking about spring. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
So previously I tried to present to the Senate that I think of this issue as 2 separate things. There's the content of the vaccine, yes or no, and the mandate, yes or no. But then there's this idea that CSEA, Senate, and faculty union were united and made a request of the board, and that was ignored. So I really feel as though these ideas are 2 separate things. They're conjoined, but they're separate. So I think that it might help talking about them separately, maybe, I don't know. The other thing I want to share is that some people emailed me, a Senate president, saying, well, the vote of no confidence is off the table now that Dr. Goswami resigned. And, you know, you all are the voting members of the Senate, and I am just the Senate president who runs these meetings. But when I was thinking about how all of this transpired, I was thinking how it was the board that voted. Dr. Goswami didn't vote, right? He gave his opinions, he said one thing or another, but he didn't vote, and the board voted. And can you find crayons?
No, I cannot.
All of that being said, I think I want, if we're gonna go this way, and I'm not saying that we are, I know there's strong support in the science division. If we're going to go this way, before we entertain a motion or we even go there, I think we need to think about what the other side of a vote of no confidence looks like. And that's what I've been really struggling with the last few days. Because now that, here, bud, here's my pen. Now that Dr. Goswami resigned.
I need color.
Okay, I really can't right now, bud. I will get you colors in just a second. Now that Dr. Goswami resigned, if we do this, it would be a vote of no confidence against the 4 board members. And they are elected officials. And so again, this is just a political move. And so if we do this, it doesn't affect their roles. It might affect, you know, their reputation, and it will definitely affect how they interact with us, which is already, I would argue, not a great relationship. But I think that we really need to talk through this. And I think that we should spend our meeting time today, maybe really digesting what all of this means. And then I think that we should have a special meeting in another week or 2 after negotiations are complete with the district. And when we can all get more information from our faculty about this. I know some faculty are out, literally out. They haven't read their email in months, right? So with Dr. Goswami's abrupt departure, I'm not seeing urgency around this, because whether or not we do it today or next week or the week after that, it's still going to be our board, and it's quite obvious to me that we don't have a vaccine vote mandate. I probably have more thoughts, but those, I'll leave you guys with those. I saw Ruth's hand and then Ellen's hand.
Had he not resigned, I was actually gonna suggest to this body considering splitting that vote, pulling Dr. Goswami and having that be a separate vote from a vote of no confidence against the Board of Trustees, because I feel that the problem is with the board, not the full body of the Board of Trustees, but those 4 in particular. So that was going to be my suggestion. The president, whoever that is at any moment in time, is the only employee that the board has. So the president has to go and come to the college and reach out to us and have this conversation with us. But fundamentally, it was their directive that they voted against the wishes of the FA, the Senate, and the CSEA. So I agree that it is a problem with the Board of Trustees, and I think it would be wise for us to wait until these negotiations are finalized before we vote on this.
Thank you, Ruth. Ellen?
I also agree that I think had Dr. Goswami not resigned, I would have suggested the same thing, that we think of the board and Dr. Goswami separately in this. And I also think that before we would take a vote, I would like to hear from more of my division. So I see that several of our division faculty and ESD are here now, which is great. But I haven't heard from a lot of our division members about their thinking on this. So I would certainly want to have the opportunity to discuss it with those who are available this summer before actually taking a vote. Last thing I'll say is I do think that even though a vote of no confidence from us would not change board members' roles as elected officials, several of them have demonstrated again and again that they put a lot more weight on the voices of community members who have no affiliation with the college and are often around this issue in particular, the vaccine mandate, promoting disinformation. And they seem to put more weight on that than the actual expert opinions of faculty who have the pedagogical expertise and the experience of being in the classroom with students to understand the implications of board policies and how they could be implemented or not. And also are the ones, we and our students are the ones who are likely to be way more affected than community members in a safety sense. So I do think that if a vote of no confidence can alert more members of the public to this in a way that is publicly embarrassing, perhaps that could be valuable. And also, last thing is, I think there's often this distinction between that comes up at board meetings from some public commenters who are not affiliated with the college, and then is amplified by board members, of this idea of the public as their constituents rather than the faculty or the employees. But we are the public as well, and those of us who live within the district are also those who vote for board members. So I think, yeah, I do think there's still some value in really seriously entertaining a vote of no confidence. And I think that we need to not actually vote on that today without having the opportunity to speak with more of our faculty.
Yeah, something that's a little disappointing to me is I've heard a narrative among faculty of why don't we try to talk to the board? Why don't we try and engage the board? You know, like, have we exhausted? Some of you are really indignant about that. I know, trust me. Hello, I'm the one saying it.
Maybe I should try that.
Yeah, so yeah, I just want to, yes, thank you. I hope everyone can see the screens because the faculty body has been doing that for years. The faculty, staff, you know, Kate Parker made some comment to the press about the sawtooth of governments.
The buzzsaw of shared governance.
Right, the buzzsaw of governance. And I think that it's important to name and discuss that the majority of our board has been consistent through this tremendous roller coaster of change that we've had the past couple of years, right? People keep saying the number of superintendent presidents that we've had since 2000 and whatever, right? And everybody keeps talking about how unstable our college is because of the overturn in leadership or the vacuum of leadership. And one of the big consistent things has been the board. So I think I'm going to say this in the truest sense of this statement. I think that anyone that thinks that there is an opportunity for dialogue between the majority of the board and campus stakeholders is ignorant to a lot that has happened on this campus, and ignorant to the fact that that has been tried over and over and over and over again.
Here,
And-
here.
In formal ways, in informal ways. Also, I'd like to offer this idea that the board tends to the public. You may have one feeling or another about the vaccine mandate, but remember that this is not the first headlining catch for our college in the last few years. We had over hours of demonstrations of Black faculty, staff, and students. And the board had a very weak response at best. It got conflated, much to my screw up with the Pledge of Allegiance stuff. The board still says the Pledge of Allegiance. It just seems like when campus concerns are shared in a formal or informal way with board members, that little is given to that. And that has been extremely painful and extremely damaging for our college for literally years. So, you know, my fear is, I think there's a lot, I said it in my email to faculty the other day, I think there's a range of emotions for Dr. Goswami leaving. I was being incredibly honest. I am actually quite sad. I saw a lot of great qualities in Dr. Goswami. I think that it is incredibly short-sighted of the board to have not worked with him. He's been here less than a year. He's only, you know, he started with us at a time that wasn't the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit. I could go on and on and on, but not what I found good about Dr. Goswami. I want to say that it is incredibly short-sighted and dangerous to have this happen at a time when we have an interim EVP who has been here a week. We have a VP of extended learning out. I don't even know what's going on there. We're down a dean. And we've been saying since Dr. Benjamin, and by the way, she's back, did our climate survey that there's been a vacuum of leadership. And so now I feel that vacuum stronger than ever. And I feel like I got sucked off of the earth the other day. So I don't mean to wax on about my emotions around this, but I do think that it's important to acknowledge a vote of no confidence. There should be emotions involved in this because this is a big deal. And if our board doesn't change significantly, and not person, but dynamics, we are going to continue to have a revolving door of superintendent presidents, and they are not going to be successful, however you want to measure success. So I'll stop there. Robin and Joy.
Yeah, I just want to say I agree with every word you just said, Ray. Some of it I wanted to address too. As somebody who has participated in a lot of the communication with the board, has given my own public comments, has attended all the board meetings for the last several years, this is not a new problem at all. And with regard to the revolving door of presidents, the board is who chooses the presidents. And I'll just say that in the last several choices, in direct opposition to the feedback from the faculty about which candidates we thought were most appropriate. Not that the board has an obligation to choose what we say, but it's just this ongoing not listening to the people who actually are doing the business of the college, of teaching and supporting students. So I'm reluctant to let go of the idea of a vote of no confidence. I don't I don't object to it being postponed and more discussion happening. But I also want to ask about, are there other options? I know in the past, the accreditation board has been called in. When Kate says the buzzsaw of shared governance, that just indicates a very specific adversarial thought process about shared governance, and shared governance is the law. It's not an option, and it's not something that the faculty are pushing. I feel really resentful of the implication in a lot of the quotes that have been given to the media that the faculty are running presidents out, or the faculty are chewing up presidents. Many times it's the presidents that are trying to take the message of the college to the board, and the board is chewing up the presidents. So I just want to reiterate that for me, the problem is our board. It's not even limited to necessarily to the 4 people who voted against this particular vaccination mandate. And I, for one, am, like Robbie, reluctant to let go of the support, but the notion of a vote of no confidence. Personally, I don't have confidence.
Yeah, thanks for that, Robin. Joy, it's nice to hear from you. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, Robin said it really eloquently. I'm not a nuclear option type of person, but it does seem that the board will be important in choosing a new president, and perhaps this vote of no confidence could send a message to that new president about our interest in being represented more accurately. Frankly, I'm very new to this whole level of governance in the college. I'm really shocked that there's no mandate that the president or the board has to acknowledge or represent faculty and CSEA and FA desires. That's so surprising to me, but that's my own naivete. I also wanted to add that I am with the people who don't want to vote no confidence today, because I haven't gone back to my division to ask exactly what their feelings are on that. So I hear all of the history that people have given with the stubbornness of the board, and I think it's probably going to be a good option, but I'd like the time. And I just wanted to make the point about the new president coming in, and at least having that in recent history, that we really resented them for not acknowledging our unanimous interest in this vaccine mandate. So that's what I have.
Yeah, and thank you for all of that, Joy. And yeah, I do think it's important for everyone to go back to your divisions and have a discussion with your the faculty that you represent. I brought up that narrative of people saying, you know, why don't we just try to work with the board? Because I think part of your job as senators, and as my job as Senate president, is going to be educating people, not about why a vote of no confidence is important or the right thing to do, but about the history and about why we have tried those things, so that people can understand why the Senate is even talking about this. I don't want the Senate to be viewed as rash or reactive or not thoughtful, because I don't believe that for one moment about this group of people. So I think doing that, you know, grassroots work of what's been happening at the board, because, you know, I see a lot of the same faces at the board meeting, and then I have, you know, a group of people that ask about what happens at the board meeting, and then it seems like the rest of the campus just is not aware of what our board members are saying and doing. So I do think that for them, this might seem exceptionally abrupt and rash and not appropriate, where you know, you're already hearing the sentiment from some on this body that, well, yeah, it actually might be. And John Douglas, I see your hand, but unfortunately, because this is a Senate meeting, only senators can contribute to the conversation, but I'm really glad that you're here to witness this conversation. So shoot me an email if you have thoughts for me, or you can work with your senator as well.
Will do. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Anna and then Trisha.
So, couple things, I guess. I first want to just amplify what Joy said about the board's track record or history of essentially actively ignoring or not caring about what the campus community is saying or is saying they want or need in order to, you know, be at work. And that's sitting heavy with me. Additionally, I think I hear like both parts of, you know, whether to move forward or not with this vote of no confidence. And there's pros and cons to both. So I appreciate having space to be able to engage with each other about, you know, where people are and kind of what the rationale is there. And I don't personally feel comfortable yet picking a side on that, but it does concern me, you know, that the board will pick the next president. And so I definitely want to make sure that, I guess, we're taking into account all of the circumstances that we're working with and this essentially large hiring that's about to happen for all of the people who are going to be charged with leading our campus, and what the impact of what we choose to do in this situation, whether it's now or later, will be on that. And again, I don't have the answers. And like you said before, I don't know if I fully grasp the importance of this and like what that looks like in big picture terms and kind of long term. I agree that I don't think we should make a decision if we're all feeling charged in the moment. But I do feel like we've tried to be collegial. We've tried to have those conversations, and it feels challenging because I don't know what else to do, I guess. And as a private citizen, like, I know that I have personally emailed the board member who represents me, Veronica, and she's never responded to me, not once. So it also makes me curious about, you know, what community they're catering to. Lots of questions.
Thank you for that, Anna. You reminded me about something I wanted to share. So I said how all weekend I was trying to think about like what this would change or what this would look like on the other side. And I really couldn't like walk through that. And one of the places I kept coming to was what Robbie shared at our previous meeting, which is they effectively, without saying it, without doing it, it was a vote of no confidence for us. And so I kept coming back to that, right? And that I wasn't, I'll be in the living room in just a second, bud. And that I wasn't sure that it would, yes, I'll bring the baby in the living room. I'll be right there. Just the baby, not me. Okay, good. So I don't know what it would look like. I don't know that it would change that much. I mean, I hope that it would, right? Because like I said, like if the nuclear option doesn't change much, then what does that mean? But I'm just not convinced that it would. I would love to be told I'm dead wrong on that. Trisha, Robbie, Tara.
So this is just in kind of piggybacking on a few things that others have said. Number one is informing our constituents or getting feedback from our constituents, and also making sure we're accurately representing the situation. Because you're right, there's a lot of misunderstandings. So is there, and forgive me if there is one, a document, or would it be worthwhile creating a document, like a declaration of the grievances, very objective, like don't respond to email, or when asked this is the reply we got, or something that's, that people can look at and evaluate on their, for the people, our faculty in my area could look at, so they can make an informed recommendation. So is there a document, like some sort of declaration? And so what are our grievances, what we've asked, and then what a vote of confidence would mean?
Well, the document doesn't necessarily exist from the Senate yet, because part of the vote would include the grievances. Like
a tool, I'm sorry, like not like a formal, but just, well, I guess it could be eventually, but just something that when we're presenting it to people, we have something rather than.
I know, I
think they may have heard and
I was trying to get,
go ahead.
No, it's okay. So, so the other question for the Senate, and where I'm hearing the conversation go today, is would the vote of no confidence be for the sole issue in front of us? Or would the vote of no confidence be this historical move? And I know that there's documents out there from the coalitions, and people have listed their grievances previously with the board many times over. So I'm confident that a document like that can be generated and distributed. I think maybe that should be something that the Senate does formally, so that if you're sharing it out as a senator, it has the Senate's endorsement, and not just, Rand put this together, but she has an agenda, right? Like, I think it should be like put together by this body and approved for sharing to educate people. It's probably going to take a lot of work. But I know that large pieces of it already exist. When I think of SBCC, I think of like 2018 to 2019 was like the gender problems, and then 2019 to 2020 was the racial problems, when really we've had these all along, right? But like I think of like different times, and so like I know different groups, coalitions that have been born out of those different time periods, and those different topics have been documenting this stuff all along. And then it would just take some synthesizing and some discussion at the Senate for that to be shared out. So that's definitely something we can do. I'm seeing a lot of nods to that, so might have support for that. Robbie and then Tara.
Well, you just partially addressed something I was going to say, which was that if we don't hold a vote of no confidence today, we should have a really good reason for doing that, because we said we would, and we've had time to think about it, and we've had time to get input from our divisions. I think if we don't have it today, maybe it could be because we're deciding today to write up our thing and set a time when we will have that vote, and somehow indicate that this time we really will, because we already did that, and today was the day we were going to have the vote.
No,
we're going to discuss it today.
Right.
Yeah. So if we don't do it today, it needs to be for some other reason than we should have done X, Y, and Z by today, but we didn't.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
And I think the years of crap and bad behavior from the board that people have been talking about adds weight to the idea that we do have a vote of no confidence in them. And I see them as separate issues, and I appreciate the idea that we need to make it clear whether we're voting just on the mandate or on the whole shebang. And well, the whole shebang is, I see three things: the whole shebang, the mandate, and depriving us of a president at a time like this. I mean, to me, that all adds up to a vote of no confidence. But I just want to make it clear that we have had time to do this work. And so if we don't have one today and are going to consider it in the future, we should have a goal, or it should be for a really good reason.
Well, I disagree on a couple of points. And the biggest one being that people have had time, like, so for instance, you know, maybe Senator, like our resolution included the 4 members in Goswami, right? So like, now that Goswami's gone, are people still behind it? Maybe they were thinking about doing it just for Dr. Goswami, right? We don't have a temperature of the whole faculty body. Like right now, I can say confidently 71% of the faculty that took the FA and Senate survey supported a vaccine mandate. I can say that. I know that. We did a survey. I cannot tell you how many support a vote of no confidence, and I cannot tell you how many support a vote of no confidence for members of the board or Goswami or both. And I think that we're not doing our due diligence by not educating the faculty committee, or excuse me, the faculty body more. And I don't think we're doing our due diligence without getting a better feel of where people are at. And this is the most important thing that I've ever seen the Senate consider since I've been on campus. And just because we said we would discuss it today does not mean that we have to do it today. But if there's a motion to do it today, then we'll vote on it. But I think it would be prudent to at least do this document that Trish is asking for and then come back and then maybe do it then. Tara?
Hi, thanks everyone. I just want to piggyback on what many folks have said. And the first being that, like many of you, I would like to have an opportunity to get more feedback from my own division, because the ground has really shifted since Monday or Tuesday when Dr. Goswami announced that he was leaving. And maybe unlike the board, I like to get feedback from as many people as possible. And I also want to hear perhaps other options that we might have. I'm very mixed on my own thinking on this whole topic, because on the one hand, I have no confidence in the board. On the other hand, I don't know that having a vote of no confidence will get us any closer to our goals. And I do want to support this idea that Tricia has had, but also Robbie mentioned as well, and that is putting together a list of questions that have been put to the board that have not been answered. And one of my biggest questions concerns our students. I feel that the FA is working very well on my behalf. I feel that as a vaccinated individual, I will be safe, but I worry about our students, and they are our purview. They are our biggest responsibility. I would like the board to try to address how they're going to prevent our campus from potentially becoming a site that's a super spreader site to what is now an actual preventable disease because of the vaccine. 99% of folks contracting the Delta variant are not vaccinated, and they're within the age group that is most common with our students. I want the board to really sit with that. I want them to feel that pressure and to give us an answer on why they're willing to take that possibility when over 607,000 people in the United States have died from this. I want this to be a serious conversation that the board has to address these questions. They have to. I don't know how to make that happen though. because we've tried to put fire and pressure on the board in the past. So on the one hand, I support the idea of us pausing and getting more feedback from our constituents. On the other hand, I don't want the board to take that as a sign that, okay, we're in the clear now. Let's move on and we can do whatever we want until the next crisis appears on this college. I still want there to be action on our part, and I want there to be accountability, and I want questions to be answered. Thanks,
Well,
everyone.
So Robbie can speak to this, as I tried to convince him of this and failed. I think arguing facts and quoting the statistics that you just did is a completely moot point. Robbie, and I shared this with Robbie, and I felt as though asking these questions and showing them facts and having this exchange is not productive, because they do have answers for these and they have provided them. They've provided them to me. They've provided them to Robbie now, and they can provide them to you or the next person if they email you back. I don't think that you're going to be satisfied with anything. I don't think that you'll be satisfied with the response that you receive. I encourage you to email them and ask them these direct questions, but Robbie has tried to engage in that conversation and it hasn't been very fruitful. I don't think that their vote was based in science and logic. I think their vote was based in politics. And I think that that's why it's frustrating when you try and argue scientific facts, because I don't think they're not using facts to base their vote from my vantage point.
I suppose that's my point too. And I would like the community to know that.
Which is why I support the vote of no confidence.
Jenny, and then Ellen, and then Trisha.
So when Tara was talking, something stood out to me. She said something about, will this move us closer to our goals? And I think initially when we proposed this and unanimously passed our recommendation, the goal was to force mandatory vaccination, right? That was the goal. And if not, we were going to do a vote of no confidence. But to me, that's not even the goal anymore, right? Because I don't believe the board's going to change their mind. I don't even think they will change their mind come spring. And so to me, the goal has shifted, right? The goal is now the larger community messaging that we need to do as a campus. You know, if I were a citizen not closely affiliated with the college, I would start seeing all these headlines about disgruntlement at our campus and the fact that yet another president is leaving. And if I saw a vote of no confidence emerging and getting another headline, to me, I would say, God, as a voter, shit's going down over there. We need to make a change. And so I see it as a way to enact a larger movement to create change with community awareness about the adversarial relationship we have with the board that's been historic and some things that have been unforgivable, in my opinion. It also sends a message to whoever's coming in as president, and certainly to our interim, who already knows the friction on our campus. And I think gives us a little more weight behind us with the board. And I think just pushing back on this kind of language about the the buzzsaw of shared governance. And instead for the public to see, actually, we're the ones unanimously in agreement between our 3 organized bodies fighting for the students and what's going to be best, and pushing back against the board that's not doing what's best. And I think the board is catering to certain members of our community, like Anna said, but there are a lot of other members of our community. If I had a college-age student and she was going to go to SBCC or UCSB in the fall, I'd feel way safer with her going to UCSB. And I think there are other people in the community that want to see us fight back against that position.
What worries me a little bit with Dr. Goswami's abrupt departure is that he will be scapegoated for all of the issues that we have on campus when he was stuck between the board and the campus.
And can I say, like, that is in part why I also think the time is right, because they're seeing, oh God, another president left. And if we instead said, actually, he's leaving because of the board, and that's why we're not confident that they keep creating these leadership vacuums for us, and now another one's created, that's another reason we don't have confidence in the board. And it's not aimed at Dr. Goswami, it's aimed at the board creating the problem.
He is not the first president that has resigned, retired, left because of them. Ellen and then Trisha.
Okay, so many things. I guess, Ray, as far as what you were saying about facts not changing people's minds, there's actual studies on that, and I agree with that, and we've certainly seen that. Robbie shared with me some of his exchanges with board members about this. But I think a lot of our faculty are not sort of in the loop on all of those conversations that have happened, either in terms of the public comments that many of us have made about a vaccine mandate, and then the ensuing discussions on the board, the private communications when we've tried to reach out to board members who then just spout, disinformation or justifications that don't make any sense. So I think if we were to create a document like Trisha was suggesting that would sort of document some of these concerns, that I think that's something that could be included. Some of the, even quoted, the back and forth emails or other exchanges that some of us have had with board members to sort of demonstrate that not just the content, but the larger dynamic. And the more we're having this discussion, so I guess I came into this meeting thinking, regardless of my concerns with the board, and I have had many over many years, I think the first public comment I made was in like 2018, and I've made many of them ever since on different issues. My thinking first coming into this meeting was we really need to focus on the vaccine mandate, because that's, if we can change their mind on that, that is the most urgent thing for us to do for the safety of our students, ourselves, and anyone coming to campus in the fall. As the discussion has gone on, I'm really starting to shift a little, and I'm thinking we really need to entertain the possibility of doing a vote of no confidence that's much more global, regardless of whether or not there's any hope of us getting a vaccine mandate. I think Dr. Goswami's leaving sort of is just another illustration of the problematic, and I'm going to put this in air quotes, leadership of the board. So yeah, so I think that's something, that's obviously, that would be, I think, a bigger process and perhaps a longer process, but I think we should really consider a vote of no confidence that's much more comprehensive. And I think that also may have a greater impact on the larger Santa Barbara community. Because I think if we focus entirely on the vaccine issue, which is still important, I don't want to lose sight of that, but it gives people the opportunity to dismiss what we're saying purely on that basis, that it being about a disagreement over vaccines. And that's not really what this is about, or not only what this is about.
Yeah. I think the same, right? I mean, that's why I've been trying to separate these things as like, there's the content, and then there's this idea, right? And I do think while we're having these conversations and thinking about what all of this looks like for us, and I'm not saying that this is a reason why not to make the document of documenting or giving it, informing people of the grievances. I also think that will open us up for criticism. And what does that look like? And will that disrupt the campus further? And will that divide the campus? And will we have more crappy email fights and things like that? So, just trying to think about unintended consequences. And that's not me saying like, let's not do this. That's me saying like, it's going to be divisive. And with that, how do we want to move forward? Let's see, Trisha, Robbie, and then Jess. And then I also want to say, like, please, if you haven't spoken this meeting, please do. Please ask questions. Please say something. I hope you feel safe enough to do so. I know it's nerve-wracking, but please do. This is an important conversation we're having. Trisha.
This is actually in response to a comment that you made like 3 people ago about Tara's talking about she'd like to have, is the board making this decision on? And you said, arguing the facts is a moot point, it's not productive, but I think that's the point. If that is true, if their questions are asked and it's not productive or they don't respond and it's to these facts, then that is the fact that we're trying to share or show to the public and our constituency, so that we'll avoid some of these misunderstandings or people fighting. And then also you had mentioned about doing a survey or something. So like after they have the information and what are the other options, and also, this isn't my opinion about how the board responds, but this is actually how they did respond. That's more objective. Then I think that we could maybe, I don't know, mitigate's the right word, some of those things you just talked about.
Yeah, and a collaborative approach to that document would be helpful, right? Because like someone argued with me about my use of the word ignore when I said that the board ignored me, right? And I had to literally look up ignore for this person. So I think a collaborative approach to the document so that it's vetted will help. You're absolutely right, Trisha. Robbie and then Jess.
I totally hear the argument that the Goswami resigning changes the ground we're standing on, and a lot of similar arguments that have been made here. And I see the value of that, and I agree that, well, it seems to me that the vote, a vote of no confidence, if we have it, would carry more weight if we were organized in documenting exactly what we're protesting. And so I think And you know, I say I support this because I do, but I'm also speaking for my division where I got much more support than no support for it. I think maybe it's a good idea for us to get that work underway and schedule another special meeting soon. It should be soon, to decide on the vote of no confidence. And if nobody had their hand after me, I was going to actually make a motion about that, but I don't want to do that while other people want to talk.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear from some more too before we formalize the way forward. Jess?
I was kind of gonna say what Robbie just said. I actually like the idea of the document that says like this, basically here's the history, here's why we are doing what we're doing, for two reasons. One, I'm fairly new in this at the school, and I know a lot of the history. I don't know if I know it all. And so as a member of the community, I would love to see that public document and say, like, rather than seeing a headline saying the academic senate cast a vote of no confidence in the board, and then having whatever news outlet speculate on why we did, having it clearly laid out for any member of the community that can just look at that document. And that way they can't put words in our mouth. And also I can learn some more about the board. So it's for personal gain as well. But okay.
Just giving everyone just a moment to sit with everything. Ben?
Yeah, like Jess, I'm fairly new at this too. So I know how I would vote if we took a vote today. But you know, it would be wise for me to go back to my division and you know, ask their input as well. So yeah, but I mean, as I sit through these meetings, it's a little silly. We're talking about life and death right now. So again, I know how I would vote, but I do back the idea of getting a document together so our argument or our vote is stronger when we do have a formalized vote. So, and I just want to also put out that I appreciate the FA for working hard to keep us safe, and really our purview is the students. We have to think about the students and their safety as well, not just us.
Yes, thank you for saying that. Good point. And I think the other complaint that can come at us, and I mentioned this earlier, is that it's summer, and so a lot of people are checked out. So we really got to get that temperature check of as many voices as we can for this. It is really going to take some grassroots organization for this to feel right, for this to land right. And even all the work we do, it still might not. But you know, we got to do it in good conscience and know that like we did everything that we can if that's the way we're going. And it sounds like that we are. Elizabeth.
Hi, can you hear me? Sorry, I'm nervous. So I just wanted to say that I really think a document like that would really help, because when I put out a call for input, people told me some things that I was not aware of, like at all. So I think that would really help clarify some things about the history. And then also I think it's important if we say like what the goal of it is, because a lot of the people that kind of said they don't support it, basically were just like, I don't see how it will help anything. Like, what's the point of doing the vote? So I think that would be good. And there was also support for doing a faculty survey. So that's all.
Awesome. I think Jenny articulated the benefits of doing it the best.
Yeah, I just would think it'd be good to have it like written also.
Yeah. I think it's important to realize too, just for everyone, I mean, maybe you're already thinking this, that even if we have a document and even if it's well vetted, it's still not necessarily, you know, not everybody is going to buy into it, right? So we have to move with the majority of the faculty and where they're at. And there's always going to be fringe people on either side for sure. Yeah. Jenny?
One thing we may have to think about is that initially our idea was that we would have a vote of no confidence in 4 particular board members due to one specific reason. And so if we are going with a different, more holistic end goal or approach, then we need to decide if it would be the entire board and for other grievances.
Yeah, I can, yeah, yes. Agreed. Jess?
I did want to, I guess, comment on, you said it is the summer. And I just wanted to say that if I wasn't involved in Senate, I would still be checking my email regularly to like see what's going to be happening in the fall, because we're in a pandemic and I'm still wondering, even though I am involved in this, like I'm still wondering what's going to be happening. So I don't want to say that those who aren't looking regularly to see any updates are not concerned, but I kind of feel like that one might be able to argue that they don't care if they don't care enough to look, I guess. So as much input as we can get, yes, very important. Those who don't feel the need to keep themselves updated and express their concerns, perhaps we can feel confident, like you said, moving forward without them.
Thank you. Before we formalize anything, again, I'll invite others to speak before we adjourn tonight or formalize anything. The other thing I want to say is, I can't remember who was it. I don't want to blame anyone. Was it Robin? Who brought up accreditation and going that route? It was Robin. So is there an alternative? There might be. I mean, accreditation might already have this on their radar. I don't know. So, you know, I don't know if there's an area there that people want to discuss. I don't know what how one would affect the other. I think that we would need to think about that more. Robin, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I don't know that either. I just know that there have been a couple of articles recently about other boards on other campuses that have had accreditation looking at them for similar uncooperative and uncollaborative relationships with their campuses. And I don't know if it's an either or, if both might be possible, or even if both might happen, because as you said, accreditation might already have this on their radar. It's certainly public. So yeah, I also really want to thank Jenny for bringing up the comments that she did, because it did really make me think of things in a different way as well, in terms of the broader issue. And I just keep thinking, there is a narrative out there. It's not coming from us right now. And so even if we don't do anything, we are being painted as the party that's causing the problems.
Ruth.
A few things. I am also grateful for the comments Jenny made. I do like this more comprehensive approach. I think that we as senators need to go back to our divisions and get as much input, or at least attempt to get as much input as we possibly can. I want to make it clear that if we do vote against the board, that it's not the same thing as saying, you know, that we were anti Dr. Goswami, right? So I want to be clear that at least I don't know why he left. I don't know the specifics as to why he resigned, but I don't think, and I think most people here that he did not leave because of a failure to engage effectively in shared governance, right? I'm on CPC. I feel that he continuously came to CPC for advice as his advisory body, unlike previous non-appointed superintendent presidents, not all of them, of course. And I think his was an earnest attempt at shared governance. And he even said, in that article that, that it was a differences with the board. So we need to be very clear, I think, with this in our messaging, that it is the board, right? We can have another president come in who is willing to work with us, right? I don't want to scare off potential applicants. I want the community, the public to know that that's not the issue, that we want everything to be our way, but the fact that the board doesn't even engage with us or didn't even bother to really listen to us or reconsider our needs and our concerns, that I want the public to know that. I do think, like I said earlier, that voting today is premature. I don't know if we want to ask the FA to potentially go back, like do they have a are we giving them a potential strategy, them being the board, to take, or is it going to be that we just go ask our faculty members, how would you like us to vote on this comprehensive vote of no confidence, yes or no? And then the board has no potential path of play, like no action that they can take. So do we want to reassert that we want this vaccine mandate, or does it not matter at all whatsoever? So that do they not have an out? So that's one question I have to this body. And that's it.
Kenley.
Well, good evening, everyone. I guess I will chime in here briefly and just appreciate the intention of the body and to be aware of how significant this kind of a step is. Even if it is a primarily political move, it is still significant in other ways. And making sure we have the support of the faculty as a whole, or as much as possible, is, I think, really critical. So getting that voice in through our departments and divisions is really key. I wanted to comment on the accreditation. So having served on 5 or 6 accreditation teams now, when a team visits, they look into the standard for the board. It's under governance, and there are some standards surrounding working with the district, working with the president specifically, since that's their one employee. And if there is an issue, a significant issue, they will document that, and it could cause a warning to the college in the form of an accreditation warning, which, if that occurs, the board has no choice but to address it. So whereas a vote of no confidence would, not maybe cause any change in the board's actions, a vote of no confidence might demonstrate disharmony in the campus community for them to look a little deeper, and then to see if this warrants a non-compliance with a standard, and in which case it would be a warning, probably, or something that would have to be addressed by the board. The last district that I'm aware of that actually went through this, and this is where Kathy Scott might be an interesting person to speak to, and our other BC folks, but the Ventura district a number of years ago did have a warning, and it was because of the board, and particularly one board member that caused it, and they were put on warning for that. So, and all it might change is like, changing a policy, so that, well, we have a policy that says, because that's what accreditation looks at, they say, we have a policy that says we will behave ethically, so, and we receive training on how to behave ethically, that type of thing.
So
that's probably enough for me. Just one.
Thanks, Kenley. I'm a little confused, and maybe you can explain to me, or maybe somebody that's been here longer. But when I started in 2012, we were on warning because of inappropriate actions by the Board of Trustees. And there was a 16-page document that we were sent that the board was found violating board rules and regulations. So I'm a little confused because yes, Dr. Kathy Scott, but also we've been through that, and we've been through it because of our board. And our board hasn't really changed that much since 2012. So
Yeah, that precipitated a big change in our board. That whole cycle, that whole time cycle was when there was the slate of candidates that ran, the 4 candidates that ran semi together.
okay, all right.
One of which is still on the board, or two of which are still on the board. 2 of those 4.
Ellen?
I was going to speak to the same thing, actually. I think it was the other way around, that the changes on the board happened before the college was put on warning, but I know that at least according to the media sources I've seen, because this was also right when I was starting at the college, part of it was about the board not allowing the president to have the power that job was supposed to have, exerting too much control over the president. So, and I would argue that our board now tries to exert control in areas that they should not. Even, for example, in the vaccine mandate resolution, where they're saying exactly how we should implement masking. Like that to me is not so much a policy as a procedure of how you, like, whether you get to be masked or not, whether if you're not vaccinated, that sort of thing. So that's just one little example, but I think our board there's lots of examples of our board, I think, trying to exert more power than they're actually entitled to.
Yeah, I just did a quick search. At least 2 board members are the same that were serving, that ran before that and then were sanctioned. So yeah. Anna?
Sorry if you hear my dog whining in the background. I wanted to name that I think Veronica actually spoke about this like 2 or 3 meetings ago. And she specifically referenced the fact that we were on warning for the board overextending their power, I guess, or control and getting too in the weeds. So she named that herself. And as this discussion has progressed, I feel like have shifted to one side, and I, like Ben, I think, know where I would vote. I want to amplify what Jenny said. I know people have referred to that already, but if this is a political move, we have 4 board members who will be up for election in the next year. It's not going to change likely, where they're at right now, but it does create buzz around what's happening. I can tell you, before I started working at a community college, I'm a very engaged voter, and that stuff was not stuff that I was really paying attention to. I didn't really understand the impact of, how all these people who are in the local elections really impact our daily lives a lot more. I'm sure this is something that our community would be interested in, if it were presented in a in a way that kind of puts it all together. So I guess I'm kind of feeling like putting together a document that, again, like Jess also mentioned, allows us to put our context out instead of leaving space for people to interpret or misinterpret what rationale we're using would be helpful. And I also think that they are separate issues, right? When we're talking about the accreditation piece and the vote of no confidence. So we can continue to explore both pieces, and the process can look different for both. So one, like, they don't have to necessarily mirror each other if we're going to explore that, and one can move faster or slower. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not in the camp of rushing through things because that is a tool of white supremacy. So I want to make sure that we are being intentional and really thinking about those unintended consequences and what our goal is with this and all of these things. So we're not basically just going to be scooted off like, oh, whiny faculty, right? Because we've already seen some of that out there, and that's not what this is about.
Robbie?
So we're going to be working on a potential vote of no confidence and this document that will explain why we're doing it. There are these issues around accreditation that we're going to investigate. But I think it was Ben in this meeting who reminded us that people's lives are at stake. And although it appears that our efforts to get a vaccine mandate for the fall have failed, I don't think we should give up on that. And so I'm wondering, what other actions can faculty take to express, not just like disappointment in working conditions, but the severity of this issue, that people's lives are at stake. Like, I know if we go on strike, that has to be a result of a vote that's taken by the union. I believe I know that. What other things should we be talking about to get a vaccine mandate? That's what matters here. I mean, the board matters too, of course, they're ruining the college, but really people's lives are at stake, and really to protect mostly the community. I mean, maybe a tiny bit us, but mostly the students in the community. We still need a vaccine mandate.
I would argue lives were at stake previously with other board issues.
Fair enough. I don't disagree.
I hear you, and I'm wondering, so I foresee I feel as though if there wasn't a large faculty buy-in and like a large pressure in some way, that the board will continue on, and then there will be some disruption again on campus. And I don't know what the topic will be. But I really think what we talked about before is important, which is I think that question is important. What are our goals? Because I don't think mine are as narrow as the vaccine mandate anymore. And I think that we're going to lose support if we narrowly define it as such. So I would like to entertain the discussion of what else can we do if we want that narrow thing. And the FA tried through negotiations to get it, and the district was not willing to go there in negotiations because they said it's a board thing. So I'm open to hearing what else we can do for this narrow thing. But I also think that the board being divisive, the board not listening, not supporting the people that like walk on the campus literally daily before COVID, is also life and death. Maybe not in the most obvious overt ways, but like is also that. And I'm not trying to be like dramatic or anything, but like I do think that. So what is that? What could it be? I don't know. I really don't. I've seen a lot at the board, and a lot of the things Kenley said through accreditation, I was quickly reading through as people were talking, like what we went through before, and they got board training and they went to conferences and we did XYZ. So I don't know. Kenley, Trisha, and then Jess.
Well, I propose maybe that we, maybe you ask for some volunteers here and craft some kind of document for us to consider at a future date, whatever that is, around the broader issues that you've raised, because I think those are very important and ones that do, well, I think that that the listening and the dialogue and the responsiveness, et cetera, and the divisiveness, those are big issues. And those are the kinds of things to go into a vote of no confidence, for sure. I agree that the vaccine mandate idea is probably, I mean, will they change their vote? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't think they would change it with a vote of no confidence because they just think we're complaining and it's just the one issue. So I think seeking some volunteers to craft something that we can consider as a body is one. And then maybe on the narrow issue, the vaccine mandate aspect, maybe we can ask a motion that says something, and this is small, but it's something. Pass a motion that encourages or asks or directs faculty to put something in their syllabus about vaccine information and really strongly urge our students to get vaccinated and share the information with them in the classroom where we are having the most contact. The all-campus email that the campus will send about the vaccine options, might be read by and acted upon by, 10% of the students. Whereas if we're in a classroom and we put it in somewhere written and we also maybe even talk about it, that might be a method to at least get more students vaccinated. So that would be one way to address the narrower topic.
Trisha?
Something someone said a little earlier about, getting, if the board members, like what could possibly change their mind, and if they're not responsive to faculty's input, are they responsive to their voting constituent input? And I know, all like the information's out there about vaccines, about masks, about everything, but if there were a, I don't know, like a shorter press release and about how the impact of not having, how we see it of having City College not having a vaccine mandate when a lot of other colleges are, how do we see that impacting the community, like short or something, and then have, I don't know, if would it be naive to think that people might contact voters, community members might contact the board members and urge them to change their mind? So it's not just faculty requesting it. I mean, that's terrible to say just, but do you know what does that make sense? Like have a larger community get involved in it? If it is a spreader event, like Tara was mentioning, then it's not just us, or even our students, it's going to be the whole community. So is that worth it? Like just a vote to focus on the vaccine part of it, the more immediate need that I think Jess was mentioning.
You're definitely getting some thumbs up. So it seems as though senators are in support of that. I think I'm very pessimistic towards that because I feel like from my own organization and activism days, like it's hard to get people to care about and act on things that aren't directly affecting them. So even if it was like very, you know, and I know that you could spin it for people, but like I don't mean to be a naysayer, and if the Senate wants to do that, it's just like, you know.
Seems like a Hail Mary, but you know, but if it's something that people, it hasn't occurred to them that if, you know, I mean, and I don't know, I mean, I got to admit, I've been following a lot of this, but I haven't been able to attend some of the meetings, so I'm not up on everything that had been presented. But you know, with the context, you know, I don't know. I heard Alan Hancock is also not doing vaccines or something. I'm not sure if that's true, but if there are someone mentioned earlier that then maybe City College might be more of a magnet for people who haven't want to get vaccinated, and what's the implication of that? You know, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that. I'm not sure of the facts. If someone would lay out how that could impact the community, possibly, but then how do you get it out there? You know, new press release, an email campaign. I don't know. This is not my purview, but it was just a thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if people, if that's what we want, we can do it. I fear as though it would invite political disruption. You know, we've heard from members of the public that are, you know, very interested in vaccines or not interested, and that's why.
But it seems like it's I mean, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about like that letter that I mean, it seemed like there was a lot of misunderstanding still and misinformation. And, you know, maybe there are things we haven't, you know, people who are vaccine, who are on this side might not have considered as well. But like, you know, address it. Like, you know, I understand your concern, however, you know, that kind of thing. And maybe you're right. I think you're right. But you know, I believe that a lot of people are already pretty entrenched. But if there's just enough people are going like, hey, wait a minute, you know, and talk to the board members, and then it's not even so much like, oh, they gave in to the faculty, but more like they became more informed. I listened to their constituents. Again, probably a Hail Mary, but it was just a thought.
Yeah, yeah. Trisha mentioned a letter that I received as the Academic Senate president that was forwarded onto the Academic Senate. It will be attached to my president's report at the next Senate meeting, so it will become public. Ellen.
I'll pass.
Okay, so where are we at tonight? I'm hearing sorry.
I'm hearing some good noises.
I don't know why I'm embarrassed about that. I'm hearing that we want an information document and we want some time to put that together. I'm hearing that we want to schedule another special meeting soon. I'm hearing that Trisha just shared some thoughts with us.
Or also the public, but also other community organizations, maybe, you know, if they carry additional weight. So just wanted to add that part in.
So where are we at as a Senate? Are we moving to a vote of no confidence today? Are we waiting? Are we all going to make it to night moves? Ruth?
I think the fact that really no one's jumping up to say, yes, I motion to, for a vote of no confidence tells us something. I think we have an opportunity, given the conversation we just had, to send them a signal, right? That we are considering this more comprehensive approach, and we are going back to create this document, right, of documented incidences with them. But I think we can use this to say, hey, we need you to reconsider what we're asking about, which is what is affecting us today, which is what brought us here in the first place, this vaccine mandate. And I think a lot of people might say, well, no, we've already tried, but I think we've probably changed the nature of this game. I don't think, I'm sorry, Trisha, that I don't think the community, again, if they're not directly impacted, I don't think they're gonna, come running to stand by our side or to picket next to us or protest or whatever, right? To object to the board's inaction. I think it's wishful thinking. I mean, we can try, certainly, especially with some of these organizations. But I don't think that that's something we can rely on. I think that an impact of an actual comprehensive vote of no confidence is going to impact the college's hiring prospects, who we end up hiring as a president. That's something we have to consider, both because it's our college that we care about and our students, but also if we do move forward with that vote of no confidence, the board knows it too, and they are going to struggle. And I hope that that's something that they take seriously. I think this conversation alone, the way it's evolved, even though it's kind of hard, we're trying to figure out where do we end up at, is putting them on notice already, right? So I do think after this conversation, we have a bit more, bargaining power, right? But I do, for the third time, I'll say, think that it's premature to vote on a vote of no confidence today against the board.
Robbie.
I don't want to make the motion because other people, I'll support it, but I've been talking a lot and other people are more there than I am. But I think we should also remember what happened at CPC the other day, which is that the CPC voted down the college's return to campus plan because it was a joke. And they resolved that we need a vaccine mandate. And so that should be, so the fact that we didn't get one from the board by the other day, the CPC is like yet another campus body that they're ignoring. And I think that should factor into it.
Yes. And I think it's important to name that while CPC made that, while that motion to vote that fall plan down was made and passed, and then the vaccine motion was made and passed, I think that it's important to specify that it was faculty, 6 faculty members, five staff members that voted for that, and that's why those things passed, and that the Advancing Leadership Association that represents the managers and the deans abstained from that vote entirely. So I think that that's an important piece of information for the Senate to be aware of. So Robbie didn't make a motion. 6:22. I have a 10-month-old that has marker all over her because her big sister viciously attacked her while I was trying to do this meeting. So I would like to save my 10-month-old from further assault. Kenley?
Yeah, well, I stick by my suggestion that you seek a few volunteers to, and this doesn't need to be a formal action, just seek a few volunteers who would work on some kind of document for us to look at in the future. A vote of no confidence that is more comprehensive. And aside from that, I'm going to move to, I will make another motion in a minute to adjourn the meeting.
Volunteers to work on a historical document and organization around a vote of no confidence.
And if there's no volunteers, then maybe there's no energy to move forward with the vote of no confidence, basically.
Anna?
Not necessarily volunteering, because what Kenley just said is so accurate. As a part-timer who works at 2 different colleges and is also involved in the community, it's challenging for me to think about how much time that's probably going to take, and also understanding how important it is. So I will if I have to, but I guess I'm asking others who may have more capacity during this time for support. And just, I guess also sitting with the fact that we're talking about like some big picture things that need to happen, and also some like very immediate things that need to happen, right? And like Ben said, this is literally life or death. And I do feel like putting something out there that is clear, and maybe Brooks here from the News Hawk, so maybe this will make it into the article. But essentially, by not having this vaccine mandate, I want the board to know that they're going to be the ones that are responsible when somebody dies. And that, yeah, like somebody will likely die because we are not prepared. We are not doing our best to protect our community. And we know the 4 people who will need to be held accountable for that.
Robin, Ellen, Robbie?
Yeah, I'm just volunteering, not because I want to, but I know some of the history, and I don't know if I have the capacity or not, but I'm volunteering.
Thank you, Robin. Ellen?
I can't volunteer to be a primary person doing this because I'll be out of town starting next week and with unreliable and inconsistent internet, but I certainly can contribute some of the historical stuff from the last few years to whoever is taking the lead on this.
Ray, can I just ask a quick question? Does it have to be a senator to work on this? Could we reach out to other faculty? Also, is it possible to get input from some CSEA people? Because there are plenty of them that have been involved with the board too. I don't know if the CSEA is planning their own process, and hopefully I'm not cutting out right now, but just
I think that's a great idea.
So we have 2 volunteers. So to kind of echo what Kenley's saying, I'm not really feeling that this is important. Joy?
So it's not that I don't think it's important. I just would rather be a part of a document creating group that somehow asks again for a vaccine mandate, asks for it to get on a board agenda, or whatever the policy is. The only reason that I wouldn't volunteer to be on this no confidence to the board is that I really hear that a lot of you know so much more about the board and have had so much more experience. So I don't want to take my silence on being a part of that document group as not being interested in a no confidence vote, because I just think it has some important potential as we go forward, as I said before, about the new president coming in and really sort of putting the board on notice, whether they'll pay attention or not. I have another quick question. How does the board find out about all of these statements that we make? Does someone give them a memo, or are they responsible for gathering this information, or how does that work? I mean, how do they know that we are contemplating a no confidence? Does Goswami tell them, or how does that work even?
So I am the liaison, as the Academic Senate President, I am the liaison to the Board of Trustees. So at every regular Board of Trustees meeting, I give a report to the board. Typically, it's very high level. This is what the Senate's working on. This is what we're thinking. This is what's going on our agendas. I try and really emphasize the good work that faculty does, especially when we're awarded things. But my report time truly is also an opportunity to share concerns up to the board. So that's one formal way of how the Senate interacts with the board. A lot of the people here are mentioning when they did public comments, which is where you go to the board and you identify yourself. The board also watches our Senate meetings. If you watch the board, they will reference that they watched the Senate meeting and noticed XYZ. The vaccine mandate in particular, Cornelia and I worked together to use our APs to request a re-agendization of the vaccine mandate. Both Cornelia and I had the opportunity to address the board in a very formal way. So we took a lot of time and careful thought, and Cornelia and I actually shared each other's statements with each other so that we could, provide not only a united front, but also, what is she saying? What do I say? Things like that. And then there's also like the informal political stuff, right? So as Academic Senate President, I go to SBCC Foundation board stuff and I interact with them there. And when things are important, I pick up the phone and I call them, or sometimes Peter Haslund will reach out to me via email. So there's a number of ways that the Senate directly interacts with the board on topics such as this. I think I answered your question, but then there's, there's just our shared governance structure of, people mentioned what happened at CPC last week. CPC recommends things to the president works with the board, right? So it's this idea of shared governance, which is why so many people took umbrage with what Trustee Kate Parker said in the media article. I think it was the Independent article where they quoted her. I will speak for myself. I also took umbrage with Trustee Veronica Gallardo saying that that we were bullies when we requested the re-agendization of the vaccine mandate. One of the points, I can't even tell you if I made it or if Cornelia made it at the board or not, but one of the reasons why we asked for it to be re-agendized is because we felt as though they made the decision without any campus input. And I have to admit, I was caught off guard because I didn't even make a big deal about where faculty was at with that, because I assumed that they were going for it. And then when they didn't, it was quite startling. And so that's when Cornelia and I started organizing and asked them to reconsider it with extensive input, which is why we did those surveys, which is why we were, doing those campaigns of, okay, where are faculty at with this? And then when we brought it back to them, it was hard for me to have Kate Parker say what a dangerous precedent this set for reconsidering something so quickly after they established it, because it was like you established it without any campus input. And the policy that they determined was unworkable, right? So, and that's where the flurry and the pushback started. So anyways, I think I answered your question. But there are lots of avenues for the board to understand where faculty at, where staff are at, where administration is at. Robbie and then Trisha.
So if it's helpful, I'll work on that document too. I'll talk to Robin about it afterward. My memory of some events is not so great, so I feel like I'm not the best person to do it, but I can certainly help. And I would like to leave this meeting with more than just a plan to generate a document. So I would like us to agendize our next meeting, by which time the document will be done. We will have gotten feedback from our constituents, and we will revisit the idea of a vote of no confidence. And personally, I would like it to be soon. I don't want to lose momentum on this.
Trisha?
Yeah, Robbie just kind of addressed a couple of the questions, but about the document, I don't know if we want to call it a document of no concern, because to me, I see it as something we were going to share with faculty to get, and then say, here are our concerns, a document of concern, and then kind of our grievances. And then we're going to share it with our faculty, some of us who haven't had a chance to talk to our faculty, and then, get the temperatures you were saying earlier. So labeling it a document of no confidence kind of like sort of implies that we made the decision. So I don't know how people feel about that. So that's just one thing, a document of concern. And then the other would be that if it's a shared Google Doc, maybe people could add to it. Because I was just thinking we can just take a lot of examples that what you just said, and that could be in someone, that's in could be typed in. So I know myself, I don't have much experience with the board, so that's why I didn't want to volunteer to lead it. But if people want to oh yeah, I remember that happened, and they could add to it, a shared Google Doc might be helpful, but I don't want to tell people how to do it. And then, yeah, the document, the survey, if we're doing it separately or if we're going to do it uniformly about the vote of no confidence, I wasn't sure what the thought was. Maybe something we can discuss later. By separately, I mean, do I want to email, ask non-credit faculty what they think and then report back to the Senate what they said? Or do we want to do a all campus survey about the whatever questions we have? And yeah, agendizing it for next meeting to talk about, I support that. That's it.
Whoa. There we go. Well done.
Okay, Robbie, you said you wanted a plan for what we're doing next. Jenny?
So can I ask, just follow up what people think about what Trisha just said in terms of what's best to gather feedback from faculty? Is it best to do what we typically do to get feedback from our departments and just senators independently contact their division? Or are we going to get more response if something comes, with a document from Ray in the form of a Google form or a survey, much like maybe you did with the return to campus questionnaire? I don't know.
So considering my own personal history with the board, I think I would want to recuse myself from soliciting that. So that There's not political accusations being made about my motivations. I'm seeing lots of head shakes and lots of thumbs up. So I wouldn't mind participating in some kind of, uniform Google survey that the Senate does, and then you as senators are soliciting that. Or even, if somebody from steering, or, if our vice president wanted to do it. But I think it lands differently when we are doing that grassroots Senate work, as opposed to, just soliciting feedback in that way. Also, Anna's hand went up. I was also going to say, our vice president is an adjunct instructor, right? So, and I just mentioned her, or steering as another person of leadership that could potentially do it. That being said, steering is different than it was last year, but there's many people on Senate that could be accused of, like Robin and Ellen both mentioned, and Anna's been active in paying attention to things at the board, right? So I think that we would want to be very careful and make sure that we're being on the up and up. I because of my personal history with the board, that's why I'm resistant to me having a part with soliciting information. And I think that my past with the board is quite public, quite well known. So I also think that it could be more easily dismissed. You all were elected by your divisions, right? So you have a different intimacy and relationship with your faculty than I do. And you can impress upon them why the Senate is discussing this. I think that's best. Anna.
I was gonna make a motion and then I got all distracted, but I do agree that I'm happy to help create a Google form that will be the survey that we all use to send out, if that's helpful. That way it's all going in one place and we don't need to have everybody report out or gather data. So I guess what I'm gonna do is move to schedule another meeting for, should I throw out a date for 2 weeks from today? Is that soon enough? Not too.
Robbie's gonna kill me, but I'm in Disneyland on 2 weeks from today, and there is no way in heck I'm going to Zoom in.
What? Where's the commitment, Ray? Just kidding. I mean, we could look at not a Wednesday if that works for folks, if we want to do it within that kind of near 2 week mark. Or we could look at the 4th, which could be better for people kind of getting back in school mode, coming back for full-time faculty that are coming back. So I guess I'm not making a motion. I'm asking what date makes sense, and then we can move with a motion. Sorry.
I think we want the document created and out before the survey. To inform people and to have a discussion around the document. And then schedule the meeting. So, Chris is sending me a quick message. I'm happy to send a doodleable for the next meeting. So what if we had a generic motion to say something about scheduling the, still considering the vote of no confidence at our next special meeting to be determined by doodle vote within the next 3 weeks. Okay, now I don't want to use my presidential influence and scariness too much, but somebody needs to make that motion.
Okay, I'll make that motion. So do I need to restate it?
Yes.
I move that the people who volunteered will generate this document. We will solicit feedback from the campus, and we will have another special meeting to further consider the topic of a vote of no confidence within about 3 weeks.
And when you say survey the campus, because we're academic senate, you're thinking of the campus as the faculty body, right?
Yes, sorry. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thought, I heard Ellen, that
Yeah,
second.
that's fine. Yeah,
Oh, Joy, it was you? Okay, Joy, let's have Joy second.
okay.
Diversify our seconds.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, so we have a motion on the table and a second. Kenley, help me here. I think we need 2/3 vote for this. Do we need a motion at all? Can I, just as academic senate president, schedule the next special meeting?
Yes, yeah, we shouldn't be voting on anything.
Okay,
That's why my proposal of getting the volunteers was stated loosely, that you could just do that.
okay,
And if somebody has a suggestion for a date,
okay.
great.
Cool. Well, so Chris is gonna send out a doodle, so we will get that scheduled a couple weeks out. And we will get the document together. I'm gonna try and get those that volunteered, I want that together in the next week. Robbie and then Anna?
That's fine if that's the procedure, but I want us to have a result from today that we can point to. I guess really what I want is for the board to know that although we're not coming out with a vote of no confidence today, we're not done with this and we're still working on it. So how can we do that?
Tell Brooke.
I mean, I can just email them after this meeting and say the Senate has postponed the vote.
No, there wasn't a
Okay.
vote scheduled today, Robbie. So just
No, I know
remember,
that.
today was a discussion item.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry if I'm
So there
speaking
wasn't supposed to be any
imprecisely.
action out of this.
I'm sorry if
meeting
I'm
today.
speaking imprecisely. I don't want them to interpret
Sorry.
the lack of a vote of no confidence today as being that we voted what we had a vote and voted it down. I mean, that's my goal. But Ray, if you email them and tell them what's going on, that would be great.
I mean, I emailed him before and said, that's what we were doing. I thought it was the polite thing to do, considering that I told the faculty body that that's what we were doing. So I feel as though it would be appropriate to re-email them and say, we're still considering this and we have a vote, or we have another special meeting scheduled in a couple of weeks. Or will. But if you want something more formal than that, then let's make that happen.
No, that sounds fine.
Anna and then Ruth.
I was gonna say, maybe you can send them the YouTube link with Robbie's little comment right then. But then also for the document purposes, whoever's working on it remembers the February 15th meeting. People came and did public comment when Veronica was trying to run to represent us on state. And so that will have a good summary of a lot of things. So the February 15th board meeting, YouTube.
Ruth.
Honestly, I don't think we need to email them. They're going to know, right? This is a more serious consideration, right, that we're making here. We're pausing because we need to do it correctly. They're going to know. There's no doubt about that. They're probably already finding out, to be honest. I have a question for senators here. Are we going to walk away reasserting our demand for a vaccine mandate?
How about this? If anybody doesn't want to assert our demand, please raise your virtual hand now as an indication that that is what you want. So I'm seeing no virtual hands raised. So I will email the board and reassert this stance and inform them that the vote of no confidence discussions continue, and not necessarily for in particular.
Maybe just say that the discussion was expanded to include other concerns.
Okay. Other concerns, vote of no confidence, you're not off the hook.
Yeah, it got bigger, not smaller.
Question, should I start my email with hey? Joyce says no. Okay, I won't. All right, okay, I won't. Just checking, just checking. That one was for Ruth. Okay.
I was just going to suggest that perhaps you let other constituencies know as soon as possible so that their groups can start potentially having these conversations.
Yeah. FACSCA, is it worth letting ALA know?
We should absolutely let them know.
Yes.
Right now, they're at a time where their boss, they have, no, actually, I'm sorry, yes, they do. They have Dr. Benjamin or Dr. Scott for now, and then Dr. Benjamin. But we should, as a courtesy, let them know.
Okay. Okay, vote of no confidence, other concerns, it got bigger, assert we're still in for the vaccine mandate. Okay, so that's what I'm emailing the board. I'm emailing the other groups. Chris is gonna send out a doodle poll. It will not be scheduled while I'm at Disneyland. Any other thing before we adjourn? Anna, you stand
Sorry.
between me and my Los Agaves.
One quick note.
Just saying.
It's about our whatever meeting before the semester starts. Just a reminder to maybe send out a calendar invite so people can get it on the calendar. The Wednesday before.
Yes, yeah. Well, yes. Our next big thing will be the Wednesday before in service. Yes, thank you. Be our retreat. That feels like eons away.
And yeah, it's really like 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away.
You're stressing me out.
That's my job, right?
Okay, I think we're in a good place to end. Would love a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Anna seconds. Any opposed? All in favor? Thank you all for your contributions and your hard work. Another tough meeting for us, but I think it was a really, really, really good one. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
But
Thank you.